Welcome to Click. I'm Spencer Kelly. If you've been on holiday abroad, you may have been unlucky enough to have needed to use your mobile phone and pay the price. Using a foreign mobile network is called roaming, and it can be an expensive business. In fact, some people have been left with bills for thousands of pounds for doing things that would have cost them next to nothing at home. But why? Does it really cost mobile operators so much more to place a call or send data across international borders? Dan Simmons has been investigating the mysterious world of roaming.
Going on holiday. A great time to switch off. Relax, take in the views, and just switch off. Because if you don't switch off, you might soon be in need of another holiday.
We heard from one woman who was trapped by last year's ash cloud in Canada. Now, she used her mobile phone to check flight times just to see if she can get home, obviously being faced with a lot of problems. When she did eventually get home, just checking their flight times and airline websites, that cost her nearly £2,000 just to download a few websites.
Last year, the European Commission slapped a new cap on what it described as abusive charges. A call from Spain to the UK used to cost up to £1 a minute. Today, it's less than 40 pence. But increasingly, we want to use data when we're abroad too. This June, the Commission may decide to regulate charges on that also. But last year, as an interim measure, it caps the total amount operators can bill customers to €50. It's now up to us to opt out of that cash limit. But one UK operator speaking to me on the day the cap was introduced says that's not enough.
It's a bandage. I don't think it addresses the core issue. The core issue is that the pricing consumers are charged when they use data in the EU is far, far, far too high. Hence why the cap's been introduced to prevent bill shock. But the reality of data pricing is you can buy data in the high street in the UK for less than a penny for a megabyte, but when you actually travel into Europe, you will be charged something closer to £1 for a megabyte.
I don't agree with the point that we're just charging because we can get away with it. I mean, there are some very legitimate costs associated with providing a roaming service, and they have to be recovered. Some countries are very sparsely populated, some are very difficult to cover with ubiquitous network coverage, some have very different tax regimes, some have different licensing regimes, and so on and so forth.
Well, the cost of actually transferring the information is very low. But what actually consumers struggle with is it's all hidden. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to these costs. So there are actually worldwide around 2,000 different types of mobile phone tariffs when it comes to roaming.
Data rates have gone the same way, with 1 megabyte often costing 100 to 500 times the cost at home.
Say you're doing business here in South Korea and you want to check up on your emails. Well, it could just be a matter of 3 or 4 before you hit 1 megabyte. How much will that cost you? £7.50. The chairman of Korea Telecom would like to bring that price down. So why isn't he lowering his own prices?
The agreement signed by telcos are too complicated for any company can change it. They are locked, virtually locked.
So you're not allowed to lower your prices?
If other telcos lower their roaming service fee, then we lower. It's reciprocal. It's not it's reciprocal, really.
So what was his general impression of operators around the world? Do they want to keep roaming prices high?
Right. That's the surest way of earning some value or profit.
And that necessity for multiple operators to all act together may be a crucial stumbling block. Some networks have managed to create mini regional areas offering lower charges, but these are often restricted to one operator or just a handful of countries. Until more options become available, the advice is to check with your operator for any deals before you travel. And if it's not good enough, well, just switch off.
Dan Simmons roaming away from home. And before you ask, no, we didn't send him all the way around the world just for that one report. If you do travel often though, I'm sure you will have a view on roaming charges, so please do feel free to share your thoughts with us. And the good news is there are some sneaky tactics to slash those roaming bills. Now Kate Russell's going to take you through her top tips on how to do that later in Webscape.
Turning off roaming doesn't mean you need to be cut off from the world. You can still hook up to local Wi-Fi networks that will let you use all the usual VoIP services like Skype, Viber and Jar Jar free of charge. Make sure you are on a Wi-Fi network though. If you make a Skype call over a 3G network, you could be charged a lot of money for the data use while roaming. The other useful tool when you're on Wi-Fi is instant messaging services like WhatsApp, PingChat and Meebo, which I did a roundup on Webscape just a few weeks ago. They'll let you send and receive messages at no cost, but again only if you're at the hotspot. And if you need help finding free Wi-Fi on your travels, head over to Google Maps before you go and search for free Wi-Fi hotspots. If you're on the desktop version, you can then email the list to yourself so you know where you can find your data fix. If you're looking for good and cost-free navigation, check out NavFree. It's a turn-by-turn sat-nav app for Apple mobile devices and soon to be released on Android too. It uses OpenStreetMap and is available for UK, Ireland and the USA currently, with plans to roll out over the rest of Europe in the months ahead.
Now, I know Google Maps works perfectly well as a sat-nav and it's pre-installed on most handsets these days, but it does require connection to the network in order to update the maps. NavFree will store them on your handset, saving you valuable data traffic while you're on the move, and you won't lose your bearings if you run into a connection dead spot.
Maps is another mapping app for iPhones that stores the data on your handset before you depart. It's not free, but it allows you to determine exactly what map you want and at what level of detail. The more detail, the bigger the download, so pick one that suits the memory space you have left on your phone. Nokia users are looked after too on the road with Ovi Maps, a free navigation app where maps can be preloaded, costing you a minuscule amount of data traffic when you want to locate yourself on the map. For Android users who can't wait for NavFree, there is AndNav2. It's free and also downloads maps to your handset to minimise data traffic when in use. One problem though with offline maps is there's no real-time information. The map is as old as when you downloaded it and won't update with traffic warnings and the like. You may also be using a very small amount of data when you want to find out where you are on the map, though that shouldn't cost too much. Now, if you just can't resist the urge to browse on the go, try the browser Opera Mini. It's a clever way to help slash data costs by compressing the content on websites by up to 90% before they're delivered to your handset, which means less data use and faster browsing to boot. It's available for most handsets, but does have some downsides, like limited levels of magnified pinch zooming into web pages, and the server-side rendering means it's unsuitable for things like online banking. And BlackBerries use a similar technique for efficiency by compressing data across the board using an architecture they call Data Smart. It's not just data that will suck up your cash. Picking up your voicemail could cost you up to 3 times the published roaming rate for receiving a call while abroad. Answer? Get your friends and relatives to text instead. If your phone is unlocked, one top tip is to buy a new pay-as-you-go SIM card from a local provider. The cost of local calls and possibly data will tumble, though of course you won't be receiving any texts or calls from your own number unless you have a dual SIM phone. Another workaround for this was tweeted by the creators of Stanacard.com, who provide a free smart dial number linked to your new SIM card to which you can forward calls from your own number. Nice idea, though I haven't road tested it personally yet.